I was 700 miles from home, working day and night to support the people I loved, my family. Then I got a voice note from my sister. I hit play and heard them laughing at me, mocking me, like I was nothing. That's when I realized I was out here sacrificing everything for people who never respected me to begin with. My name is Daniel Reyes. I'm 24 years old. I come from a small town in southern France, raised in a house with walls too thin and voices too loud. We weren't poor, but love, that was rare. My father, Emile Reyes, was a factory foreman, practical, cold. He believed men were born to carry weight, not feelings. My mother, Margot, was quieter, soft-spoken, but never truly present. She disappeared into her books, her television, and later her wine. Then there was Lena, my younger sister, 3 years my junior. Bright, sarcastic, popular, the golden child, everything I wasn't. From a young age, I learned to keep my head down. If I wanted something, I worked for it. If something hurt, I buried it. I was the silent one, the steady one, the one who didn't cause trouble. At 21, I left for Edinburgh, Scotland, hundreds of miles from home, to work. Construction jobs, kitchen shifts, night cleaning, anything I could get. I sent money home every month, paid for Lena's laptop, covered half the rent when Dad got sick, skipped meals sometimes, but never skipped a payment. And in return, silence. No birthday calls, no thank you texts, just occasional bank details sent by my sister with a dry, "Can you send this week?" Still, I told myself, this is what family is. You give, you don't expect. Until one Tuesday afternoon, I was sitting at a cafe near Waverley Station, sipping burnt coffee, waiting for my next shift to start. I had barely slept. The previous night, I cleaned office floors until 3 a.m. My phone buzzed. It was a voice note from Lena. I smiled. Finally, maybe she was checking in. I tapped play.
At first, laughter. Then, voices. My mother.
He probably thinks we miss him. That boy always needed to feel important.
My father, laughing.
He left because he couldn't handle anything. Couldn't even get a proper degree. Let him dig ditches.
Then Lena. I just hate when people ask what my brother's doing. I have to lie and say he's in finance, like I'd ever tell them he scrubs hotel floors. More laughter. More cruelty.
The voice note was 2 minutes long. Every second stripped something from me. I sat there, in the cold, surrounded by strangers, holding back tears. That message wasn't meant for me. It was meant for someone else. Maybe an aunt, maybe just gossip. But they sent it to me by mistake. My hands trembled. I deleted it, then re-downloaded it, then saved it in 3 places, not because I needed proof, but because I needed to remind myself. This is what they really think of you.
Silent return. Nothing has changed.
I didn't confront them, didn't reply, just packed. I took a train home the next evening. No one knew I was coming. 7 hours, 2 transfers, and a cheap cab later, I was standing in front of the house I had helped pay for. The paint was still chipped, the gate still jammed. I knocked.
Lena opened the door. Her eyes widened. Daniel? My mother appeared behind her, stared. No hug, no welcome, just, "You should have told us you were coming."
I didn't smile.
"I didn't want to interrupt your gossip."
I said, walking in. No one answered. Dinner that night was awkward. The table was full, but the silence was louder. Dad barely looked at me. Lena was glued to her phone. My mom only asked, "So, how long are you staying?" I answered with a lie, "Just a few days." Truth was, I didn't know. Part of me wanted to leave that same night, but another part wanted to hear it again, to see in their eyes what I heard in that recording. The moment of release, emotional confrontation. In When There Is, 3 nights later, during dinner, it finally broke. Dad was criticizing a neighbor's son. Useless boy. 25, still working part-time at a bookstore. Imagine that. I looked up. At least he has a job. Dad scoffed. Don't get sensitive, Daniel. I put my fork down. You know, I said slowly, there are worse things than working hard jobs, like pretending to love someone just because they send money. Silence. My mother froze. Lena stopped mid-bite. I looked at all of them. I heard the voice note. No one spoke. I was in Edinburgh, alone, broke, exhausted, and I get a message from you, all of you, laughing at me, mocking the jobs I work, tearing me apart after everything I've done. I heard everything. Lena's mouth opened, then closed. My mom's voice cracked. Daniel, it was just a joke. Was it? I turned to Dad. You said I couldn't get a degree. You're right, I couldn't, because I left to work when you got sick. I took double shifts so Lena could finish school. I didn't complain, not once. Tears welled up. But that night, I sat on a bench in the cold and listened to the people I'd been sacrificing for call me a loser. I stood. Don't worry, you won't have to lie about me anymore, because from this point on, I don't exist to you. And I left the table, rebuilding, finding peace. In one areas, I didn't go back to Edinburgh. I went somewhere new, Lisbon. Found work at a small cafe by the beach. It wasn't easy, nothing ever was. But for the first time, I was working for me. I stopped sending money, stopped checking their socials, stopped replying to texts. Eventually, they stopped sending them. Lena messaged once, "You really overreacted." I never answered. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. Sometimes healing means walking away, not for revenge, but for peace. Months later, I wrote a letter, not to ask for apology, just to say, I heard you, every word. And now I finally see things clearly. Thank you. Not for the pain, but for the truth. You freed me from expectations I was never meant to carry. I hope one day you learn to treat loyalty with the love it deserves. I signed it, folded it, burned it. Some letters aren't meant to be sent. Sometimes the people you sacrifice the most for are the first to forget you. But that doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And in that pain, you get to choose who you become next. I chose peace. I chose self-worth. I chose me. Lisbon wasn't home. Not at first. It was too warm, too colorful, too unfamiliar. But maybe that's why it saved me. I found a room above an old bookstore, the kind with creaky floors, faded maps on the walls, and the smell of ink and dust in every corner. The owner, João, was in his late 60s, stooped posture, sharp eyes, a voice like wind brushing through leaves. He barely spoke English and I barely spoke Portuguese, but somehow we understood each other. He offered me the room for less than half the going rate, said it came with free coffee if I helped sweep the steps every morning. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Each day I worked early shifts at the cafe near the water. Afternoons I read books João loaned me, translated ones, and in the evenings I watched the sun set behind tiled rooftops, wondering if silence always felt this peaceful. One night, I stayed late in the shop to help João move boxes. After a long pause, he looked at me and said in broken English, "You run from ghosts, but ghosts follow, until you stop, turn, and say, 'Go, I'm not yours anymore.'" I didn't know how to respond, but I felt the weight of it settle deep. He didn't ask me what I was running from, and I didn't need to tell him. It arrived on a Thursday, a small, white envelope, no return address. Inside, an invitation. Lena was getting married. At the bottom, in careful cursive, it read, "I know we've been distant, but I want you there. Please come. For me. Lena." I stared at the card for a long time. It had been 8 months since the voice note. 8 months since I walked away without another word. Since then, I hadn't heard a single apology. Not from her, not from my parents. And now, this? Part of me wanted to rip it up, throw it in the ocean and forget she ever existed. But another part, the one that remembered building Lego castles with her as kids or comforting her through breakups, that part hesitated. Maybe I needed to go, not for her, not even for closure, but to prove something to myself. That I wasn't the same boy who used to beg for scraps of love, that I could stand in the same room as them and feel nothing. The wedding was held at a small villa outside Lyon. Rustic, expensive, everything Lena had dreamed of since she was 15. I arrived the morning of. No suitcase, just a clean shirt, black jacket, and a heart that beat a little too fast. When I walked in, heads turned. I saw faces I hadn't seen in years. My aunt, cousins, old neighbors. None of them knew what had happened. My mother approached first. Her smile faltered. "You came," she whispered like she didn't believe it. I nodded. No hug. Then Dad, standing a few feet away, stiff. He gave me a slow nod. I returned it. And finally, after the ceremony, I slipped away before the dancing started. I didn't need to stay. Lena had said what she needed to say, and I'd heard enough to know my place in their world had changed, not because they chose it, but because I did. I took a train back to Lisbon that night. The sky was clear, my head was quiet. Back in the bookshop, Zhao greeted me with a nod and a cup of coffee. I sat on the steps and watched the streetlights flicker. For the first time in my life, I felt light. Not because the pain was gone, but because I'd finally stopped carrying it. Sometimes closure doesn't come in a perfect sentence or a dramatic ending. Sometimes it's just knowing you survived and walked away stronger. I still don't talk to my family, and I don't hate them. I simply stopped waiting for love in places that never knew how to give it. And in doing so, I found peace. Real peace. If you ever felt unappreciated by the people you loved the most, you're not alone. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. Not every story ends with an apology, but every ending can begin your healing. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, don't forget to share it. Someone out there might need to hear it too.